night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of Ball Talk. Appreciate everybody listening to our first episode, giving us feedback. We appreciate everyone. Today, we're going to recap what was a terrible NBA Cup final for the Thunder and talk about things you can take away from that and things you maybe shouldn't take away from that going forward. We're also going to hit pretty heavy on OU football and the transfer portal and what's been going on there, along with kind of touching on OU basketball as they're currently playing against Michigan in the Jumpman Invitational. But
Give us that score. Give us that score.
They're down 3 with 38 seconds left, so might not
Sounds
be
like
the
a
best
loss.
recap. But yeah, but I got Chris with me tonight, of course, and I'm Ben. Chris, how's it going tonight, man?
How's my mic sound? Are we sounding better out there?
I hope so.
So bad the first time, but that's all right. So yeah, I feel pretty good. It's a good night, you know. Had a little Brahms ice cream. Shout out for no free ads, but Brahms ice cream's great.
Brahms, sponsor us.
Yeah, I would love a Brahms sponsor. That would go.
I drink a shake every podcast.
Oh man, would I eat number 2 with no onions?
Yeah.
Just for 10.
We'd turn it into a video pod. We'd release it daily on YouTube, even if it was just us drinking a shake.
Eating. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Chris, last night the Thunder lost 97-81 to the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Emirates Cup final. I don't know about you, but I don't care at all about the NBA Cup. I think it's a waste of time.
It can hurt players. What are we doing?
Irresponsible.
And hey, in all seriousness, Thunder didn't give up 100 points again. Defense, I thought we were there.
Yeah. One of the stats that sticks out to me in that game, and before we even get to that, I want to say I sat down on the couch last night to watch that game. Throughout the day, I was relatively excited. And then as the game started, just knowing that this game literally does not count for anything outside of $500,000 for the players. And I guess you can maybe hang a banner in Paycom, which would have been cool. Don't get me wrong. But I found myself not as into it or as excited for the game as I thought I would be. What about yourself?
100%. I kept just telling myself, I was like, because as I was watching the game, we're getting blown out, and I just kept thinking, none of this really matters. We're still gonna be 20-5. Doesn't matter towards Jalen Williams, Shea's, shooting percentages, because they shot terribly, but it's like doesn't matter towards their, it could, MVP is sort of like this ethereal award, so it could count towards that, but like no stats counted, so it's like you said, I just kind of lost my fervor for it. As the
vibes are down.
On.
The only thing that it hurt is the vibes on the team are kind of down. I tried to stay off X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it on this podcast, but
not the actual team, the people that matter on it, just
correct.
The idiots on
but
Twitter.
The media, like everybody was hyping up the Thunder, and then they come out and lay an egg. I think they shot 15% from 3 in this game. As I was saying before, getting ready to say, they scored 28 points in the first quarter of that game. The entire second half, they scored 31.
Yeah, that's terrible. Mm-hmm.
14 in the third. 14 in the third, 17 in the fourth. And honestly, it was going to be 14 and 14, but Kenrich Williams hit a 3 with like 20 seconds left to break 80, to get to 81. And so when looking at this game, as we said, it's kind of not one that I don't feel great about it, but also I don't even want to call it a glorified scrimmage. I guess it was. There's $500,000 on it, but
that's for the glory.
That's the glory. J. Will is going to get some money, not all of it. But I think 2 things can be true when talking about this game. One, the cup is not necessarily irrelevant, but it didn't matter. The game did not matter. And 2, the things that Oklahoma City did against a team in a situation that is the most playoff-like atmosphere that you will find in a December basketball game. And I think the Mavs and the Rockets were somewhat of a playoff atmosphere, but the Bucks even more so. There are some concerns because, I mean, I've said several times to friends and anyone who will listen, Jalen Williams is a heck of a basketball player. Holy crap, Oklahoma basketball just won.
Hey, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner, 87, 86. Looks like on
Yeah.
the last second. I was trying to focus.
Put in the
and
fight
looked up.
song right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. In post edit, we'll add Boomer Sooner right here. But back to the Thunder, I think Jalen Williams is an all-star. I don't know if he'll get there this year. He definitely will be an all-star at some point in his career. He tends to shrink in these games, and although that was a scrimmage, it was a big game. You looked around the court on television, and Mark Davis, the owner for the Raiders, were there. Michael Phelps was sitting courtside. Ray Allen, Oscar Robertson, people were there. It was a big game in terms of how the NBA tried to market it. I don't think the crowd was that into it compared to a normal playoff game because it was a neutral site. But whenever Shea is not able to go get his, and he didn't last night. He shot terribly. Someone has to go and make shots. And the Thunder, I mean, we shot 15% from three. We made one in the first half alone. And so my concern is whenever you get into the playoffs, the Thunder have to find a way that when either Shea's not going and doing what we're used to him doing, how do you generate offense when that doesn't happen? Because you can't go on these long lulls in the playoffs and expect to advance as far as this team is capable of. I mean, this is still a Western Conference favorite. I mean, I'll get that out of the way. This is not a team that's taken a step back by any means, but that is something that we saw in the Mavs series last year that still doesn't seem fixed. And I know Chet didn't play, but it's a concern I have after watching that game.
I mean, he's still a third-year player. He's still a really young player. I mean, the Thunder like to draft younger players because they have this huge upside, and he's kind of shown that. But you're right. There is a concern that he has to be the guy, the second fiddle to Shea, and he's shooting 20 shots and making 8 of them. He's it's not there yet. I truly believe it will, and the work ethic that the whole team, but especially like Jalen Williams and Shea, show, they trust their process, they trust their work, so I think it'll get there. But I'm a homer. I'm biased as hell, so there's really no real concern, but it does need to get figured out. The thing that I'm most concerned about, Ben, you want to ask me what I'm concerned about? Go ahead, ask
me. Chris, what are you most concerned about?
I'm most concerned that the Thunder are continually having these off shooting nights. You can't see my hands, but they're in quotations, where they just like are terrible from three, and eventually that's just who you are. So what do you think about these anomaly shooting nights that we keep having, that eventually you are just that from three?
I think we started out the year really tough from three, and I mean, we were towards the end of the pack. I think right now we're currently, obviously last night's game doesn't count, so those stats don't even impact rankings or anything like that.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't even matter. I think we're 19th in the NBA in 3-point percentage. And I think as long as you're in the middle of the pack, every team has an off night except for the Boston Celtics right now. For some reason, they can just make threes all the time. And they're still obviously the favorite because they make threes consistently and they don't go through these scoring lulls. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing. It's almost like, I remember when the season started and we got a taste of playoff basketball, and I was so excited to get this season started. But after getting that taste of sweeping the Pelicans, taking the Mavs to 6, and it being high leverage basketball, I wanted to get back there as soon as possible because I knew this team, like last year, it was like, oh my gosh, we're chasing the 1 seed. This year, especially with how they played so far, the 1 seed's the expectation, even with all these injuries.
Which is crazy.
That's why Shea is where he's at for MVP, because
right.
the NBA won't talk about it, but this team has never played a game this year with a healthy roster. And so we have to get obviously through the regular season as healthy as possible. We need to get Chet back. We need to kind of see how he fits. I'm not really worried about it. It'll just be a question of, are you starting two bigs? How does that rotation look? Everything else mostly will stay the same unless Presti decides to kind of go crazy and make a trade, which I really don't think he will.
I don't think you should.
No,
I'm
this team's still
you
good.
know, like you said, we haven't had our full roster, and I think chemistry is what's really going to help propel this team to win. And I don't want to throw in another log to the fire that could make it, die.
Yeah, I agree. But all that to say, I think we have good players. We have who we think are good shooters. I think Kaysen can be a good shooter. Obviously we paid Isaiah Joe to shoot. We have to get them into playoff series and see how that looks against like, here's the deal. I would almost guarantee you the team we play in the first round of the playoffs will be a better team than the Pelicans last year. The Pelicans had Zion out, and so it wasn't a full team. It was a
Right.
really and they lost him in the play-in. And so it wasn't even like they had adjusted to playing without him. And so I fully anticipate that first round matchup the Thunder should win. I don't know who it is. Obviously, a lot can change between now and April and May, but we need them to get into the playoffs and perform on big, like in pressure situations.
I just hate that we have to wait till then. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? To figure it out. And then it'll be like, all right, well, that didn't work. Now we got to, I'm assuming it will work. But like, if it doesn't work, you do this whole process again. You wait for the next postseason, see if it actually works.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a sports fans nightmare.
I mean, and there are big games in the regular season that we'll be able to at least test it. I mean, we play the Celtics twice. We still play the Knicks twice, the Cavs twice, especially in January, right after the new year. We play the Knicks twice, the Celtics once, and the Cavs twice within like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's a stretch. One, Shai go win an MVP, please. I would love that. I mean, I said on the last pod that I thought he would win MVP this week if everything kept trending the way it did. That was obviously if the Thunder had won and he played well last night and they won the cup. So yeah, there are opportunities in the regular season to kind of see if these players can respond and adjust. But it also just comes down to shot variance. I mean, PJ Washington in the playoffs last year decided to turn into Ray Allen against us. I'm really, really hoping that there is a game or a series where we have a PJ Washington. I feel like we're owed that with all the bad karma around Oklahoma sports. I mean, I talked to my buddy Alex, and he's like, I'm just fully expecting Oklahoma to not win a championship until they do, because we've been cursed so many times. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. But the things that I'm kind of watching for as we get into that really tough stretch, we want to see Jalen Williams kind of come forth, be really efficient, and be a really dynamic scorer, as well as a really, he offers so much on the defensive end as well. So we want to watch Jalen Williams. And I think, like you said, this really tough stretch is going to be super helpful for his development. In hopefully he can get there and start, doing what everyone believes he can do in those pressure situations. So I'd like to see his threes fall. I think that would be a big help. I feel like
he needs to shoot it well.
I think that would be a big help. So that's the thing that I want to see most, is he get on track and shoot the ball better. I'd like to see Isaiah Joe shoot the ball better too. I think that's something I'd be on the lookout for. It's hopefully this is just like a 25 game slump, but that's pretty deep into the season. We got to start turning around soon. So,
I completely agree. We need Dub to step up, and then really just waiting for Chet to come back and seeing how this team looks with him. I saw a video a couple of reporters put out. He traveled to Vegas with the team, and he was walking into the cup final. He still had his crutches, but you could tell he was putting pressure on that side with the hip injury. And so it was just kind of to help him. So that, I mean, Mark said that he's clearing hurdles.
Whoa,
So,
he's already running hurdles? I feel like that's way after you start to jump. That's
yeah, we
good.
need to slow that down. But yeah, it's a bummer they lost. The cup literally means nothing. I think it's dumb now. I'm kidding. I think it was a cool thing.
I like the heel turn. No, that's classic radio right there.
Yeah.
The
I
heel
like
turn.
the setup. They need to change some things, especially with the Thunder literally play on national television tomorrow night in Orlando. After leaving Vegas today, I think their flight left at 10 a.m. And so they have a Florida back-to-back, Orlando, Miami.
Yeah, the back-to-back.
They just have to find a way.
Oof. Yeah, so talking about those two games, what are you kind of expecting from the Thunder after this sort of letdown? You know, there's a huge letdown in the Cup game in the 83rd game. What are you kind of expecting from them? I know Orlando's missing a few pieces. I think Paulo's still out, and the Wagner brothers might be
Franz
hurt.
Wagner,
Yeah.
he's hurt. I think you have to. I think it's. I love that we get to immediately get back on national television. It obviously won't be as watched. It's not. There's other games that night, so it's not the main focal point. There wasn't all this build up to this game, but the Magic still are very scrappy. They're one of the better defensive teams in the league. So it's a game where we have to come out and hopefully just completely not necessarily completely right the ship, but there needs to be some kind of move towards the mean of how we shoot in our percentages. And we should go take care of Orlando. Obviously they exerted a lot of energy and effort into trying to win that cup, not just last night, but two big high pressure games with the Mavs and the Rockets. So I know that zapped them, I'm sure. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I think they'll be very hungry on Thursday night to come out and kind of shut up some of these people that are saying they're soft and there's nothing scary about them. But then they just have to survive. I mean, they got Miami the next night too. You know, honestly, as long as you split those, I think you're fine. I don't think you have to go out and win both. I would, if they lost tomorrow night, I wouldn't be shocked, just with the schedule and everything.
Yeah. I think that's true.
I don't want them to, and if I had to guess, I would bet on them coming out and trying to right the ship. And I wouldn't say they necessarily just beat the crap out of Orlando, but I think they'll win.
But I hope it's blowout so you can rest. You know, the fourth quarter, rest some guys in the fourth quarter, get ready to go to Miami.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. You know, it's kind of crazy to say this. We just said all these negative things about this basketball team, and they're currently riding a 5-game winning streak. So
yeah. The cup does not change that.
Yep. So
that's pretty nice.
Yeah. So there's your Thunder talk for you. Before we get into OU football, we did mention a second ago the OU men's basketball team moved to 11-0.
11-0, baby. Believe in Porter.
With a 87-86 victory over the Michigan Wolverines, a ranked matchup in the Jumpman Invitational Classic in Charlotte. The basketball team out of nowhere has decided to just be great. Their competition hasn't been as good. The net rankings came out that is kind of what they use to rank teams in the tournament. And I think their highest ranked opponent was like 49.
Yeah, but how are they going to keep out an undefeated team?
Well, no. I don't think we have to worry about this team unless they just go. Oh, I mean, Porter's found ways to miss the tournament in the past. At this.
Well, you remember that Trae Young team that was like 10-0 or whatever, 7-0,
fourth in the country,
ranked fourth in the country. Trae was playing out of his mind, hitting all those threes. They come back home and they just lay egg after egg after egg, a hen farm in Norman, Oklahoma, and they only put us in the tournament because Trae Young was our lead man.
Yeah. So obviously still a lot of work to be done. It's almost unfair how we went from the Big 12, which at that time was definitely considered the best basketball conference in the country. And we moved on to the SEC, which now is definitely considered the best basketball conference in the country. Auburn looks like the favorite right now. Kentucky and Florida are both playing well. Florida's undefeated. Kentucky has one loss. They play the first weekend of SEC, ranked 4 versus 7.
It
but
just
yeah,
means more.
It just means more in everything.
Basketball included. That includes basketball.
Yeah. But yeah, they were down when we started this podcast. They were down 3 with 23 seconds left, and all of a sudden I looked up and they had won because we were in the middle of recording, and Jeremiah Fears had an and 1 3 with 10 seconds left. Hit the free throw to win it. He had 30 tonight, and I definitely think this will be his one season in Norman, Oklahoma.
Sounds like it.
He's being mocked in the lottery already, and he's technically he reclassified.
So he's like 17.
He should have been. He should.
That's a Thunder guy.
Yeah. Honestly, if he can hit shots, Sam.
That's true. Sammy, we're looking at this guy.
Norman is right down the road, buddy. You fly all over the world to scout. I've seen you at the Lloyd Noble Center. I'm putting Jeremiah Fears with the
right
Clippers
on his
pick.
list. Put him right on your list.
Yep.
Take him over Mr. Flag.
Yeah. Cooper Flag. Never heard of him. It's Fears season.
Fears.
Fear the Fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to catch on. But yeah, great win. The last 2 times they showed on ESPN after the game, the last 2 times the OU basketball team started 11-0. Those last 2 teams, the first one went to the Elite 8 and the second one went to the Final 4. So
wait, let me see if I can name those teams. The Final 4 was that Buddy's team?
That was Buddy in 2016, 15-16.
And then 20 it's gotta be, is that Hollis Price's team?
No, sooner than that.
So
more recent.
Dang, I don't know. Blake's team?
Blake Griffin.
Oh, Blake's team.
His sophomore year, they went to the Elite 8.
Him and Taylor,
Willie Warren.
Honestly, at OU, I like Taylor Griffin more.
He was a guy like you would get behind. He did.
I was more of a Taylor Griffin guy myself.
Yeah, I was more of a Blake. So, but yeah, exciting times. I actually do want to get to the Lloyd Noble Center this year to watch basketball, which is not something I thought I would say even 2 weeks ago. So shout out to Porter Moser and the guys.
The students coming out too. That's big time.
Yeah. They got some big games. Like I said, the SEC basketball is second to none right now. So there's some pretty big matchups. I know they have Kentucky at home, obviously Texas. And so we'll try to get down there and watch some hoops with our buddy Ryan. I know Ryan really wants to go watch some basketball. But now that basketball talk is officially over, OU football, I don't know if you've heard, got a quarterback today.
No, tell me. Wait, tell me.
Mr. John Mateer. We're all material girls.
We're all material witnesses to what is happening.
He's ranked as the number 1 transfer in the portal, regardless of position. He's coming from Washington State, which, if you're familiar, Ben Arbuckle, our new offensive coordinator, coached him for the last 2 years. He backed up Cam Ward the year before, and then stepped in as the starter this year, led the country with 44 total touchdowns, passed for over 3,000 yards. It's a big win for Brent. I was telling people throughout the last week or two that if we did not get him, especially after Jackson Arnold transferred, if we did not get him, go ahead and burn the program to the ground and start the next coaching search.
Yeah, it was a huge must to get somebody like him on campus, because Brent has to win now. He has to win next year, or he's lost. He's lost the job.
Has to win 9 games next year.
Yeah, and as much as I like Michael Hawkins, I think he can be a really dynamic player. He needs somebody to an actual quarterback coach. So I think Brent had to bring in a guy like John Mateer to start and take this team to where the defense should be at, because the defense was really let down this year, and so
the whole team let everyone down except for that magical Bama game.
Oh, so I got the grass right next to me.
Yep, I got several patches of grass. I kept a pom-pom. Honestly shocked that I even washed that outfit. But we'll see if we can rekindle some of that.
You just kept looking at me on the field and being like, "You gotta get some grass. You gotta get some grass."
Yeah, it was a moment.
Oh my gosh!
Was the grass that Kip Lewis ran over when he had the Kip 6. That's the claim to fame for the blades of grass that are currently in my nightstand. But yeah, John Mateer's coming in. I think as you mentioned, Michael Hawkins, he will start the bowl game next week against Navy. But for next year, I think this is huge for not only Brent and the program, but if this works next year, you have Mateer here. He has 2 years of eligibility left. I kind of think it's probably a 2-year thing. I don't think, unless he's in New York next year for the Heisman, which I'm not saying he isn't. But if he is here for 2 years or even just the year, Michael Hawkins having him to learn under, and you have an actual offensive coordinator who played quarterback. Arbuckle played quarterback at a D2 school in Texas. And then he also brought from Washington State the quarterback coach that Mateer was under for the last 2 years. So that familiarity is a huge reason why Mateer is huge. And the development of Hawkins, who I think has a ton of talent, just needs refinement. It's a home run get for OU. And I think it's definitely something that could start a domino effect with players committing to OU. We have already seen 2 wide receivers also commit. They actually committed before Mateer went public, but I'm sure they were made aware. They're not necessarily, former 5 stars that just want a new start. You're looking at, I'm going to say his name wrong, but Giovanni Gibson. So another Jay Gibson in the wide receiver room with Jaden, that he's back healthy. He's coming from the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He had 70 catches this past year, over 1,000 yards. But he fits the physical part of playing wide receiver, and we tend to be targeting some of these taller athletes instead of some speed guys. We're getting Deion Burks back, so he could kind of play the slot. And then I believe his name is Keontez Lewis. 247 hasn't updated their transfer commitments, but he was a transfer from Wisconsin. We're actually his 4th school. So that's a bit of a red flag. I think he started at UCLA, went to Wisconsin, and then Southern Illinois for a year. And then he committed today as well. They're still looking at a couple, 2 or 3. Jaron Bradley from Boston College is the guy they're looking at. The big hype right now is the Branch brothers from USC. I really hate that. Lincoln Riley is losing his best players. It's very sad.
So sad. I hate that.
It'll give him, if he gets fired, it'll give him time to get back in the kitchen and try to perfect his brisket. So it's a win-win situation for him, mainly because if he gets fired, his buyout is stupid.
The best job in all the world is being a fired college football coach.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
I don't know if it's a good thing to aspire to be that, but it is the best job.
Jimbo Fisher getting, what did he get? $74 million, $65 million to just leave his job.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, let's do a thought experiment really quick. So close your eyes for me.
Okay.
You are, it's 2000, I can't remember the date, 2014, maybe 2014, 2015. A young hotshot OC is just hired at Oklahoma, and a transfer comes in. And then they go on to win the Heisman together. Does that sound familiar?
You know what, Chris?
Because that could happen again. That's the year I'm talking about, 2016.
Yeah. Baker did transfer in
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Baker transferred in 2014. Sad a year because the transfer portal was much stricter, much more strict, and obviously we brought in Lincoln Riley. And although I hate him now, man, was it fun to have him coach our offense.
So Ben Arbuckle's coming in. He's a boy from Texas. Small town Texas. Brings in a transfer.
Very similar.
He brings in a transfer. And then in 2 years, that transfer wins the Heisman. And then his backup wins the Heisman the next year. Are we going to do it again?
back-to-back first overall picks, John Mateer, Michael Hawkins. Is that what you're predicting on this show right now?
That is my bold prediction of the week.
I love that. And if that happens, I will hug you.
Okay, would you rather that happen or OU win a national championship in that time?
OU win a national championship, 100%.
I agree.
100%. It's been too long. But yeah, Mateer Day. That's the day we're currently in. Huge get for OU. He'll come in immediately. He definitely, you mentioned Baker Mayfield. Watching, I'm not going to act like I sat down and just dissect every second and every pass.
I know you're an all 22 guy, so I know you did.
Sure.
You don't need to lie on the podcast.
Just being modest. He definitely plays a bit like Baker. He has the flow. The stature's similar. They're both 6 feet. He played 2 games this year against legit Power 4 teams. He didn't throw the ball well, but he ran the ball very well against those teams. I think he had over 100 yards in both of those games. I actually have his game log up right here. Yeah. Against Texas Tech, he ran for 197 yards. That's pretty good. He was only 9 of 19 for 115 yards, but he had 21 carries for 197 yards and a touchdown, passing and throwing. And then he had Boise, which obviously wasn't like a Power 4 team, but they are in the playoff. He was 26 of 37 for 327, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He ran the ball 20 times for 28 yards. Now, I'm sure some of that has to do with scrambling and sacks. But he seems to have that kind of the moxie that people rally behind. I think the OU faithful is going to love cheering for him, especially if we're scoring points after sitting through that miserable 2024 offense. If this offense has a heartbeat, I think we'll be satisfied.
I think so too. And you mentioned, if he's anything like Baker, I mean, OU fans to this day cheer on he's on Tampa Bay right now, and that's the game that gets played in Oklahoma every week.
I'm literally driving down to Dallas this weekend to watch Baker play.
Baker Mayfield is still the hottest thing in Oklahoma. And so if you can play and, imitate him in any manner at OU, you can become a superstar. So if he's able to do that, I think the fan base would get behind him and in turn get behind Brent. So I think it's a really fantastic get, specifically for a coach who, I don't want to call it for a job, but he is coaching for his job.
Yes.
That's what he does.
So far, the Arbuckle hire looks pretty good. We'll see how it looks on the field. First chance is the spring game, April 12th. So Chris, before we get out of here, the college football playoff does start Friday night with the first round of games. It is the first version of this playoff. I'm gonna rapid fire the matchups. I want you to tell me who's winning, and we'll see who's winning the championship.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. We're starting off first game, Indiana Notre Dame in South Bend Friday night.
Indiana.
I love it. It's supposed to snow in that game.
Definitely Indiana. Give me Indiana. Give me the Hoosiers.
Like it. Second.
Run the picket fence.
Second, we're looking at SMU Penn State in Happy Valley.
Penn State. Yeah.
That's fair. I think SMU's sneaky in that one. I think Penn State just never, I don't think they're ever that good. They beat everyone. They never schedule anyone until they play Ohio State, and then they get killed.
That's a good
and
point.
then they played decent against Oregon. They at least made that a game. But I never thought Oregon was going to lose that football game.
I'll tell you, I'm going all by gut. This is no thought. It's all gut.
That's what we want. So you have Indiana and Penn State. We're locking you in with Penn State. That was your gut. Secondly, which I think might be the best game of the first round, Tennessee at Ohio State.
Tennessee.
I've
never liked
Will Howard.
No.
Ryan Day.
I've never liked Ryan Day. Even at the time, he and Lincoln got hired at similarly reasons and at similar times. So I thought, man, I don't like this guy because
Yeah.
I was
no
all in
Lincoln.
on. He was no Lincoln at the time, and now he's obviously
We'll see how
done
good his
way
brisket
better
is.
than Lincoln.
Yeah,
why would you
both those
post
teams
it?
I think struggled to score. We're still waiting for Heupel to open up the playbook
After
after halftime of the Norman game because
he
he
just
was
kept it
saving
closed. He knew he needed it for this Ohio State game.
Yeah, you better open it up now because they're going home if he doesn't.
Yeah.
And lastly, Texas and Clemson.
Clemson,
not a biased pod.
Not that. I mean, that was so. That's yeah. That is very biased.
That's the first round. Just real quick, Georgia would play Indiana. Probably going Georgia, and then Penn State, Boise State.
I only because I want to see Gentry run the ball more. Would I
give
pick
me Boise State?
But I think Penn State wins that game. Just like you said, they beat everybody they play, but they don't play anybody good. I think Penn State probably wins that game.
Lastly, Oregon, Tennessee, probably going Oregon.
Every Oregon game that was like, did they ever like blow any good team out?
I don't remember any like big blowouts. I know the Ohio State win was big, but that was close. Ohio State was driving.
It was just because Will Howard didn't
he slid instead of throwing it away.
I'd probably go Oregon.
I pick Oregon in that mainly because I don't trust, regardless, Tennessee or Ohio State to score with Oregon.
Yeah, I just don't. I think Josh Heupel opens up the playbook for Ohio State, and then he immediately closes it again for Oregon because he's worried they got it all.
Yeah, he has to save it for whatever future endeavor he might have.
Right.
Next would be Arizona State. Let's be honest. I think they're probably playing Texas. I don't think Clemson's that good.
I think Texas, like if Texas wins the Clemson game, they're like they have an easy game. I think Arizona State is only number 4 because they won the Big 12. So I mean, with my pick, I would pick Clemson over Arizona State.
Clemson, or with your pick, you go Clemson. Yeah, whoever
with my pick, yeah. Whoever wins Texas, Clemson's gonna beat Arizona State.
So then, wrapping it up, we're down to the Final Four. You have Georgia, Penn State, Oregon, the winner of Texas, Clemson. Which I love how we can't admit that it's Texas, but
I don't have Texas going. No, I don't have Texas winning the first game.
Okay. So between Oregon, Georgia, and Penn State and Clemson, I guess, who's your national champion this year?
Honestly, I think it's going to be Penn State, Oregon. I don't think Georgia can score. I think Georgia offensively is just.
I think Beck probably won't play.
Yeah, I think Georgia's just sad on offense.
Yeah. We'll see.
So
I like Oregon this year. I would love for Gabriel to win a championship. I have no ill will towards him.
No, I don't either.
Some of the other kids that transferred out this year, we can get into that at a later date. Little different vibe with them leaving, but Gabriel, I definitely want him to go win it. But yeah, we'll see. We got the first playoff game Friday night, and then the other 3 on Saturday. And then we'll be back. We're going to record another pod on Monday, previewing the OU Navy game, what we're looking for, updates on the Thunder, and just whatever's happening in the world we'll be talking about. But appreciate y'all. We'll talk to y'all next time.
Wait, one more thing. I'd like to give a special shout out to Motabike for doing our intro and outro music. Go listen to them on Spotify. They're great. One song. They only need one song to impress you. So
Europe's greatest boy band, Motabike.
Yeah, Motabike. Take us out. We like to party.
Sounds good. See y'all next time.
Party, we like to party all night long. Party, we like to party, never go home. Party, we like to party all night long. Party, we like to party, never go home.
Party, disco night. The music plays through all the land, and when we step out on the floor, we party, and then we dance some more.
Party, we like to party all night long. Party, we like to party, never go home. night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long.